Hydropower is an important renewable energy in the energy matrix of Chile and New Zealand. And here we aim to provide some pieces of information to open the discussion regarding its sustainability, as it is inherently linked to water availability, and so that influences rainfall, temperature, and wind patterns around the world, including Chile and New Zealand. It seems relevant to think how is these variations going to be on time. On a nutshell, Chile is getting dry, and New Zealand rainfall patterns are changing from the southwest coast of the South Island towards the northeast coast of the North Island, and that is definitely going to affect the hydroelectric potential of the South Island. So why are we linking energy and development? Well, it is a complex relationship, but basically energy access work as a boost for the GDP increase, and later on time, a higher GDP demands a better energy access. So in that sense, it seems curious that both Chile and New Zealand got to a virtual 100% energy access at around $20,000 of GDP. And both countries have, and in terms of energy matrix, some similarities. We both have at around 50 to 6% of fossil fuel energies as a primary source of energy. The differences are that Chile has a higher variety of renewable energies, of biofuels, solar, wind, and also at around 20% of hydropower, whereas New Zealand has less variety of renewable energies, but the hydropower plays a more important role of about 30% of the overall energy matrix. So what's the role of hydropower within the energy matrix? Well, we need to acknowledge first that there is at least three basic types of hydropower plants. The first one is the runoff, where the river just passes through the turbines producing energy. Then we can divert that river to go through the turbines. But the most well-known type of hydropower plants are those that uses a dam. And because of the scale, they can be really, really big. So they can be used as a base load for the energy matrix. But the interesting thing is that as they can hold water, they effectively can store energy as potential energy in the water. And this allows decoupling power generation and the energy consumption. So if we think in a solar panel without any batteries to store the energy, we can only use the energy that is being produced at the exact moment. So both processes should happen simultaneously. What the storage method at the dam allows is then to store energy and use it when on demand. So what impacts does this kind of project have? Well, in the first place, it changes according to the technology or the type of project. And we also need to bear in mind that hydroelectricity and the environment impact each other in many ways. As I mentioned before, hydro is a very location-dependent technology. It depends on the water availability, among other factors. So the rainfall variations has to be considered from the design of the project. And even though this is not part of the environment, but is part of the broader context, environmental awareness of the society has an influential role on the policymakers and therefore the legal framework. An example of this is a big power hydropower plant in Colombia in the US, where it was mandatory for the hydro plant not just to produce cheap energy, but also simultaneously protect the environment. And that changes the conception of the project since the beginning. So the most well-known examples of impacts of the hydro plants over the environment is, well, basically interrupting migratory path because we cut the rivers. Um, when a dam is included in the project, it floods some area affecting the wildlife habitat and modifying the water table on the surrounding areas, affecting the whole area. And one impact that might not be immediately on the people's mind when thinking about hydro impact is the greenhouse gases emissions from the reservoir. This is effectively a huge anaerobic system. So any leaf or tree or organic matter that falls into the water sinks to the bottom and is going to be anaerobically break down to produce CO2 and methane that's going to be released into the environment. But on the other way, the environment also has impacts on the hydro plants. They can be classified as direct or indirect. The direct are basically related to snow melt and how much water are we going to have on a given period of time. Um, but higher temperatures also play indirect impacts on the hydro projects because a higher temperature increases the evaporation. And even though we can maintain the yearly rainfall, total rainfall um, remaining the same, these changes on the rainfall patterns are going to put some stress on the agricultural irrigation system, and that creates a sort of competition between for the water usage. Also, having a more intense rainfall event is going to change the water quality. A higher flow on the river is going to drag more particles that are going to erode the turbines, increasing the maintenance cost. And if you have suddenly too much water, you need to let go some water, and that without producing the energy that you need at the moment that you need. And that is going to affect the overall efficiency of the plant, and it's going to also increase risk of landslides and etc. And finally, the local regulations will also affect the hydropower development as the demands for sustainable development of the society are evolving. So to finish with, I just want to mention that the impacts of the hydropower scheme in our countries are paid for all of us. Therefore, we should get involved and have a say on how do we want this to evolve. And we all need to decide as a society if we want to pay the price and what is the fair price. Thank you.